When the red light comes on, Maureen, it's recording.
Okay.
It's recording.
Welcome everyone to this virtual community meeting to discuss NPA 2023-0014.01.sh and NPA 2023-0014.02.sh. If you haven't done so already, please let us know who is here by typing your name in the chat box. And if you're associated with an organization, if you could provide that as well. I will use this as a sign-in sheet. Also, if you could please mute your microphone if you're joining by phone, and also turn off your video if you're participating online to save bandwidth. This meeting is being recorded and will be publicly posted to the publicinput.com/neighborhood plan amendment cases website. If you do not want your image viewed publicly, please turn off your camera. Version. So as you notice, properties in the Southeast Combined Neighborhood Planning Area. Mark Walters is the meeting facilitator tonight. Jacqueline Mencia is a Spanish translator, and I didn't put Marcella's name. If we can introduce yourselves, I can put that maybe at the end of the presentation. I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager, Maureen Meredith, and Nancy Estrada is the Zoning Case Manager. The agenda tonight, I'll go over basic case information, guidelines for discussion, how to participate.
Maureen, excuse me, Maureen. Can you put that in presentation mode?
Oh, it's on my presentation mode in my screen. There we go. Can you see it now?
Better. Yeah, it's much better.
Okay. So I'll go over basic case information, guidelines for group discussion, how to participate in this process. Why is there a plan amendment application? What is a future land use map? I'll do a presentation. The applicant will do a presentation, and then we will go into any Q&As. So the first case is NPA 2023-0014.01.sh. The main address is 5900 Rapid Creek Trail. There are additional addresses in the application. Project name is 5900 South Pleasant Valley Apartments. Plan amendment request is to change the future land use map from single family and recreation open space to mixed use. The associated zoning case number is C14-2023-0071.sh, and the SH is smart housing. The existing zoning is Planned Unit Development Neighborhood Plan, and the request is to change the zoning to GRMU-CONP, which is Community Commercial District, Mixed Use Combining District, Conditional Overlay Combining District Neighborhood Plan, or a mixed income rental units. Owner applicant is Austin Housing Finance Corp., and the agent for this case is Courtney Banker from the City of Austin's Housing Department.
Maureen, from current slide, presentation to current slide. Slideshow, right there, up. Click there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from current slide.
Oh, here it
Second
is.
icon.
Okay, got it. Thank you. There we go. Next one is the NPA 2023-0014.02 SH. The main address is 5901 Drowsy Trail Drive. I'm sorry, Drowsy Willow Trail, and there are additional addresses in the application. This request is to change the future land use map from single family and recreation open space to multifamily residential. The associated zoning case number is C14 2023-0078.SH. Again, the current zoning is PUD-NP, which is Planned Unit Development Neighborhood Plan, to MF3-NP, Multifamily Residence Medium Density District Neighborhood Plan for a multifamily attached and detached condominiums. And the property owner is Austin Housing Finance Corp., and the agent for this case is Travis Perlman from the City of Austin's Housing Department. You have to not use the presentation mode because it's not forwarding.
Okay, go ahead.
So guidelines for group discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during this meeting. Please postpone general comments during the Q&A session. After staff and applicant presentations, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand symbol on the menu bar. Telephone participants will be able to speak during the Q&A session of the meeting. Attendees will be muted upon arrival and through the staff and applicant presentations. Then staff will open the floor to questions in the chat or by attendees raising their hands to speak. Similar questions may be grouped and answered together. And if you're having connection issues, you can turn off your video until you're called upon to ask your question. We ask that you please be respectful to each other during the meeting presentations. How to participate in this process. So the recorded meeting will be posted to the publicinput.com Neighborhood Plan Amendment Cases website, and what will be posted tomorrow morning. You can email or call me or Nancy with any questions that you have, and if you provide any written comments, they will be included in the staff case report. When the cases are scheduled for Planning Commission and City Council, and if you live within 500 feet, you will get the notices in the mail of the date and time and location of the public hearings. So why is there a neighborhood plan amendment? Neighborhood plans are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan, and the city charter requires zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most neighborhood plan amendments are amendments to the plan's future land use map. Most neighborhood plan amendments have an associated zoning application. This map shows the areas in blue that have City Council approved neighborhood plans. City Council approved neighborhood plans have a plan document, like the Southeast Combined Neighborhood Plan document, that have revision and goals and recommendations for the planning area. Most of these neighborhood plans also have a future land use map where these colors represent broad land use. For example, on the properties proposed for plan amendments, recreation open space and single family are the current land uses, and the proposed land use is mixed use, which is a mix of residential and commercial uses, and multifamily. So these are the two tracks. You can see the 14.01 SH is on the left, and that's proposed for mixed use. And 14.02.SH is proposed for multifamily. And again, here are the cases with an overlay of the aerial photos. And here's 14 and 2. They're both undeveloped tracts. You can see them here with the future land use map, where the green is the recreation open space and the yellow is the single family. This is the zoning map that shows the current zoning is PUD, which is the plan unit development zoning, which is the existing zoning on the property. This is the Imagine Austin Growth concept map, and it shows where the regional centers, town centers, neighborhood centers, and activity corridors are located within the city. The property here shows that 2 tracks are not near or within the activity center, but this is South Pleasant Valley and it is an activity corridor. It shows the properties in relation to public transportation in the area, and you can see bus routes along South Pleasant Valley and some to the north around us on Stassi Lane. So that is my presentation, and Courtney Banker, one of the applicants, will begin the presentation. And then we will open the floor to Q&A.
Thank you, Maureen, and good evening, everyone. I really appreciate y'all tuning in and joining us tonight. As Maureen said, my name is Courtney Banker, and I'm a project coordinator with the Austin Housing Finance Corporation and the City of Austin's Housing Department. I'm joined by my colleagues Travis Perlman and Alex Radke, and they might help answer some questions. So our presentation tonight will provide an overview of the Austin Housing Finance Corporation and project background, an overview of the development concepts we're considering, and the neighborhood plan amendment and zoning requests tonight, as well as development timeline, and we'll have time for questions. I know that the folks on the call tonight are hopefully pretty familiar with the content here, but given that this will be recorded, we want to make sure that anyone who tunes in later will have all the information they need to be informed about these requests. So the Austin Housing Finance Corporation, or AHFC, as we will refer to it throughout this presentation, is a quasi-public nonprofit organization created by Austin City Council in 1979 to generate and implement strategic housing solutions for the benefit of low and moderate income residents of the city. AHFC owns properties throughout the city and has over 1,500 existing units and another 2,000 or so that are being renovated, built, or are in pre-development. We use a variety of tools to create and preserve affordable housing, including purchasing existing housing, buying land, working with community members to envision new developments, and partnering with developers to build new housing. As we expand our supply of and land for affordable housing, we're constantly trying to accomplish a few goals, including creating affordable housing throughout the city and finding sites that are adjacent to community amenities like schools, parks, libraries, and transit. So for example, one of our recent acquisitions is in districts 7 and 9 in North Central Austin. We partnered with the Austin Housing Conservancy Fund to purchase and preserve 234 units of naturally occurring affordable housing in a portfolio of 7 properties. We closed on that earlier this summer. We also partner with developers to build housing from the ground up, similar to our proposal for these sites. So I'll share a few examples, the first of which is 900 Gardner Road in District 3 by the Austin Animal Center. AHFC initiated a public process in 2020 for the site and then launched a request for proposals the following year. The local nonprofit Guadalupe Neighborhood Development Corporation and the Vecino Group were awarded the opportunity and are helping AHFC build 228 homes, 198 of which will be for rent and 30 will be for sale. All units will be affordable. The for rent portion broke ground this March, and the ownership portion is scheduled to break ground next year. Another example is 3515 Manor Road in District 1, just south of Willow. AHFC initiated the public process back in 2021 and solicited a request for proposals the following year. We're working with Integral Care, the NHP Foundation, and Capital Life Housing to build approximately 260 units of affordable housing, including some deeply affordable permanent supportive housing units. That development is scheduled to break ground on its first phase later in 2023. And finally, a third RFP-generated development is located at 1127 Tillery Street in District 3. Those community engagement efforts began in 2020, and eventually the project was awarded to MRE Capital and Citrine Development. The development will include 66 units of affordable senior housing for artists with disabilities, and it will also include commercial art space. We have a few other partnership developments in the pipeline that are altogether helping to expand the stock of affordable housing in Austin, because the fact is affordable housing is greatly needed throughout the city. The Austin Strategic Housing Blueprint encompassed over 30 public input events over 18 months and was adopted by council back in 2017. And in 2017, it identified a need for 60,000 additional housing units in Austin within the next 10 years that are available to households earning at or below 80% of median family income. And almost 4,500 of these units are needed in Council District 2, where these sites are. But based on the 2021 scorecard, which assesses how well the city is meeting the blueprint's goals, only 1,063 new affordable housing units had been built in District 2 since 2017, suggesting the district needs far more affordable housing to meet the blueprint's goals by 2027. So given these high housing needs, AHFC staff are constantly working to identify opportunities for more housing in each council district. To that end, we purchased both 5900 South Pleasant Valley Road and 5901 Drowsy Willow Trail in 2021 using general obligation bond funds earmarked for expanding the city's affordable housing stock. And these two sites are located along Village Square Drive between Pleasant Valley Road and Knuckles Crossing, across the street from Mendez Middle School. As Maureen mentioned, some nearby amenities to the east include the Southeast Branch Public Library, Wyden Elementary, and Dove Springs Recreation Center. There are also existing bus lines that run along Pleasant Valley Road, as well as a stop on Project Connect's Metro Rapid line that's planned to be nearby. And there are many grocery stores, a pharmacy, healthcare facility, and park within a short bus ride, including a Fiesta Mart, HEB, Walgreens, and community care clinic, as well as Dove Springs District Park. So here's a closer view of those two lots. You can see the library, fire station, rec center, and Wyden Elementary on the right. And in last year, AHFC initiated the first steps in preparing for the solicitation and ultimate redevelopment of these tracts by engaging a local architecture firm to help us determine roughly how much housing could be built on these sites and what that might look like, and then help us create preliminary development concepts and priorities for presenting to the community. So we used a variety of tools to share these preliminary concepts and priorities with the community, including a bilingual website, an overview video, in-person tabling events at the library, rec center, and with AISD, surveys, which we sent out along with mailers to nearby residents, and was also available online at the tabling events and via text, yard signs, which we placed on the lots, and presentations with local groups, including the contact team and association for the condos that are existing already between those two lots. So during these efforts, we generally heard support for a mix of ownership and rental housing, giving priority to existing residents at risk of or already subject to displacement, and the desire for additional community amenities like an outdoor park or an indoor commercial space. And we heard many concerns as well, including those related to traffic on the nearby roads, parking, and flooding, especially given the proximity of these lots to the creek. Desire for the concerns related to good neighbor practices, especially during construction, but as well as operation. And the potential incomes served with mixed feedback, where some residents wanted deeper affordability, whereas others wanted more market rate housing. So the following conceptual drawings show what we presented to the community for feedback earlier this year. The first shows what the two lots could look like when facing south on Village Square Drive, as though one were looking across from Mendez Middle School. The preliminary development concepts include new affordable ownership housing on the eastern side near Knuckles Crossing Road, and new affordable rental housing on the western side near Pleasant Valley. And both of these buildings are envisioned as being fewer stories near the existing condominiums. An example of some of the ways that we incorporated feedback into the solicitation for the new affordable housing, rental housing development included requiring our development partner to build a fence between these two properties to not exceed 3 stories within 30 feet of the lot line and to not build any balconies on that border. Here is what this concept would look like from an aerial perspective with the ownership lot or 5901 Drowsy Willow Trail at the top of the image. And you can see due to the creek at the southern border of the sites and the corresponding critical water quality zone, close to 50% of both lots is expected to be open space in accordance with city regulations. What's interesting though is that the original planned unit development or PUD anticipated building housing within these zones. And that's because it was platted prior to current flood standards. But the preliminary development concepts that you see on your screen deviate from this PUD in order to better accommodate health and safety, while also being able to provide more affordable housing. So now providing more detail about each of those 2 lots. First, with the eastern lot or 5901 Drowsy Willow Trail, which features between 40 and 50 ownership units in both attached townhomes and stacked condo units. That would include a mix of 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. And this design strives to maximize the number of fully accessible units or units that don't require stairs. The area between the buildings and the creek is envisioned as community green space that could feature a playground or other amenity. And finally, this concept accommodates around 60 parking spaces and serves households earning up to 80% MFI or median family income, which for the 2023 income limits is about $93,000 for a household of 4. So moving to the western lot of 5900 South Pleasant Valley Road, this conceptual design includes approximately 90 to 100 rental units and a multi-level apartment building with 1 story of parking and then 2 to 4 stories of apartments above, resulting in 5 stories on Pleasant Valley and 3 by the existing condos. The concept features a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, ensuring access for a mix of households as well. And it also includes resident amenities such as an interior courtyard, as well as community space in outdoor community space, and also the potential for an indoor commercial space. Finally, this concept accommodates 120 parking spaces on that first level and is primarily anticipated to serve households earning 30 to 60% of median family income. So what are we requesting? As Maureen mentioned, in terms of the future land use map, we are requesting for 5900 South Pleasant Valley Road or the western lot to amend the neighborhood plan from open space, single family to mixed use, which would allow for residential and commercial uses. And for 5901 Drowsy Willow Trail, the eastern lot to be amended from open space, single family to multifamily. In terms of the zoning, we're requesting that 5900 South Pleasant Valley Road be changed from a plan unit development to community commercial, or the very long alphabet soup of GR and use CO and P. And the conditional overlay in here, the CO part, well, first, the GR, community commercial, allows for the potential commercial uses that we heard as part of the community feedback. But the conditional overlay helps, which is a zoning tool to limit certain uses on the lot, helps ensure that specific commercial uses generally granted under this zoning category would be prohibited. So that includes automotive rentals, repairs, and sales, the things that wouldn't really be appropriate for this development. And then for 5901 Drowsy Willow Trail, we are requesting to rezone from a plan unit development to multifamily medium density or MF3 NP. And finally, why now? So for the context on the timing of these applications and the corresponding developments, here is a timeline specific to the western lot, so 5900 South Pleasant Valley Road. Sorry, that's a typo in the header there. We released the request for qualifications to identify a development partner for this lot back in March and are expected to award that development opportunity next week. We will release a separate solicitation for the other lot later this year. But what's important here is that the western lot, 5900 South Pleasant Valley, has a funding advantage that may expire before the following application round. And so we need to apply for financing this fall while we still have that funding advantage in order to build 90 to 100 affordable rental units. And if we are funded, if we are awarded that funding, then we may need to be ready to begin construction, which includes having completed all zoning, permitting, and other entitlements by next summer. So given the typical timeline required for zoning and neighborhood plan amendments, we initiated these applications in May 2023 so that 5900 Pleasant Valley would be ready to break ground for the funding requirements potentially next year. And we decided to apply for both lots simultaneously so that they can both go through the rezoning and neighborhood plan amendment process together as they are part of the original of the same PUD. If all goes per this schedule, 5900 Pleasant Valley could be completed in 2025 or 2026, and 5901 Drowsy Willow Trail could be completed not long afterwards. So thank you again for your time. Here's our contact information should you have any questions, as well as a link to more information about this project. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Courtney. I'm Mark Walters, Principal Planner in the Planning. And if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand or type it in. Appropriate person. So I guess they covered so much information that nobody has any questions.
Oh, I see a question from Anna in the chat. Why can't both
in the
properties
chat.
stay as PUDs? So the current PUD, Anna, and feel free to jump in here if I'm misspeaking, Alex or Travis, but the current PUD would mimic basically those existing condos. And so it would require development much closer to the creek in a way that is not compatible with current floodplain regulations. And we figured it would be more straightforward and easier to do away with the planned unit development, especially given the size of these sites.
Okay. That's interesting because I thought PUDs allowed for more flexibility, and then of course called for superiority. So, are any of the other properties PUDs that are City of Boston properties?
I think this is the only one. This is Alex Radke speaking.
Okay.
This is the only one that I'm aware of that we've purchased so far that has PUD zoning on it. Since this is such an old PUD from the 70s, this exists. The PUD regulations at that time were very different, and so there were no superiority standards. And PUDs, once they're written, are essentially kind of fixed in time to those regulations at the time that they were created. And so that's why, to Courtney's point, if the PUD was developed as it currently exists and was created in the 70s, that would mean building units essentially within the floodplain, which we are obviously not going to do, even though the PUD is, I guess, entitled to that based on that old PUD agreement.
Okay.
Johnson Sherman has a question. Chat, it says, will you be able to give preference to existing Dove Springs residents under the fair housing laws?
I can answer this one, Courtney. We are not allowed to be so specific as to say that we have to take folks only within a small geographic area of the city. And it sounds like you're probably already a little bit familiar with this, John, asking about how it works with fair housing laws. We are able, and we do have a preference policy that provides preference to folks who have historical ties to the city of Austin. We're allowed to do that, but we can't get down into small geographic regions.
Okay.
I will say, I just
So-
want to add on to that. Sorry. The one thing I do want to add on to that is that doesn't stop us from trying to do a lot of outreach, obviously, and marketing to try and build up waiting lists for both the ownership and the rental within that community. However, those will be open to anybody, obviously, who's interested.
So, John or Anna, do you have any other questions?
I was typing fast.
Okay. For all those other properties, can you provide detailed information as to how many units are market rate and also a breakdown of the MFI affordability levels for each of the projects? Then I'll get to John's question after that.
Anna, that's information I'd have to get back to you on for the specific breakdown. I can speak to a few of them, as I mentioned, for 900 Gardner Road, which is the two developments associated on that tract are Virt Austin at Gardner and Johnny Limon Village. All of those units are income restricted. And for a lot of our properties, we're generally very, at least for rental, the majority of our units are at or below 60% MFI. We do, on this development, we have a few units where we did not designate an MFI level in our solicitation. Part of that strategy is that as people's income increases, wanting to make sure that they might be able to stay at the community, stay living at that property, if we have a few units that aren't tied to a specific income.
Okay, to John's question, what will the price of the ownership units be at to hit 80% MFI?
I can drop in the chat the current sale prices for the city of Austin's incentive programs based on the data effective June 15th, 2023 at 80% MFI. For example, a 3-bedroom would be $274,000. And you can find that information from the city of Austin's housing website, income and rent limits. But
So any more questions? We're scheduled till 7:30, so we have plenty of time to try to address all your questions.
I'm typing one in.
But you can just speak it out. You don't need to type
Okay.
it.
So, so the renderings on for both sites show part of the structures on piers, and the property on the Knuckles Crossing side is the one that's the most vulnerable to localized flooding unless the city simultaneously fixes that drainage section. But y'all may want to look at possibly considering piers closer towards the little creek, towards the back, just because I just worry that they might, because if they're not on piers, they may get flooded unless the city, because that would be a localized flooding issue, not a creek flooding because of the drainage. So the drainage under South Pleasant Valley, you can literally stand under it. Whereas the drainage on Knuckles Crossing, they're just smaller holes. Yeah, and yeah, it went from a big flow to, it's kind of like going in, trying to pour a cup of water through a straw, and that's what's going to happen. So.
yeah, thank you for that feedback. We'll be sure to share with our design team.
Yeah, definitely get Watershed to look at that. They're aware of it because we were a few years back we were walking that area, and then that's when we saw the problem.
Any other questions? Since it's just the two people from the community, no need to raise your hand or type it in. Has a developer been chosen or recommended? I think the answer is no, because the solicitation is going out soon.
So we have, we're doing
Oh, you
separate
do.
solicitations for each lot. So for the western lot, 5900 South Pleasant Valley, the board will be deciding at the July 20th board meeting, so next Thursday, to award that development. And there has been a staff recommendation. All that information is available online. And then the solicitation for the other lot we're anticipating releasing that later this year.
Oh, so there's two different proposals for each. Oh.
Yes, because they're different housing types, or different tenures, and different construction typologies, it was our preference to separate them.
That's good to know. So, yeah, definitely keep. So the one that is going to be decided on July the 20th, is that the Pleasant Valley or the South Pleasant Valley or Knuckles Crossing?
That's the Pleasant Valley.
Oh, that obviously. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was an interesting process in being involved in that. So definitely want to be involved in that process. Okay.
So, do you have any more questions? If not, we can wrap up the meeting a little early and we can all get back to our lives. But Marie, do you want to put up the contact information slide so John and Anna can make sure to get all the contact information for the different case managers?
Tell me when you can see it.
We can see it.
Okay. So, and I added, we had two Spanish translators tonight, so I added Marcelo's name. So here's my contact information. Here's my email and my phone number. Nancy Estrada is the zoning case manager for both cases. And here's her email and phone number. So we'll keep y'all posted, the planning contact team, when we start looking at planning commission dates. I know we wanted to try to move fairly quickly on these cases, but we just haven't finalized a date just yet.
Okay, before we wrap up, Courtney, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you all very much for joining us tonight and for your participation in this whole process. It's been very helpful to have your insights and your guidance.
And I would like to thank every people who came out tonight, John and Anna, for your time, that you took interest in what's going on in your community. With that, we'll end the meeting a little early and we can get to dinner. Yeah, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Jacqueline, did